Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. My name is Kara, and today's video is going to be my April housing market update. As always, I'm going to be breaking up this video into a few different sections, those being home prices, inventory, mortgages, local news, and other. Really quickly before I jump into the content, I just want to say if you are not already subscribed, please consider going down below and hitting that subscribe button. This week I just hit 325 subscribers, which I am super excited about. I think at the beginning of the year I was under 200. I can't remember the exact figure. It may have been like 150, but thank you so much to all of my new subscribers and everyone that has stuck around for the past couple years. Alright, let's jump into price on a national level. The first statistic I'm going to share with you guys is quite interesting, and I actually had to read the article a couple different times to make sure that I was reading it correctly. So according to a new report from First American Financial Corp, in January, sale prices were 47% higher than the peak in 2006. However, once you consider wage growth and also interest rates, home prices nowadays are actually 30% lower. I know that might seem kind of crazy because home prices have been shooting up, interest rates are climbing, but when you consider everything, home prices are actually more affordable. I know this is probably quite a bit different from the news headlines you've been seeing, so I thought it was definitely worth sharing. The next statistic is regarding lumber prices. So I mentioned lumber prices a few times in some of my past videos, and I'm going to bring it up again because it is very important and it definitely impacts the cost of new construction and some remodeling projects depending on what you're doing. Building material costs right now are 20% higher than they were a year ago. However, the cost of lumber is just under $1,200 per 1,000 board feet. This is down from the peak last May when we hit $1,600. So while building costs are more expensive now than they were in the beginning of 2021, they are coming down at least a little bit. I'm going to put a chart up on the screen that shows you the national payment to income ratio for home buyers. From 1995 to 2003, U.S. home buyers needed to devote only 25% of their median income to make the monthly mortgage payments on the average priced home. That has now risen to just over 29% for the nation as a whole in March. As you can see by taking a look at this chart, things have been changing pretty rapidly over the past couple years, which is probably no surprise. Alright, moving on to price on a local level. We all know that home prices are going up, but how about rent prices? Well, it might be no surprise, but rent prices have been going up as well. Across North Carolina, rent has increased 19.8% year over year. That's an average increase of about $200, and this is higher than the national average of about a 16% increase. Well, now that we are out of Q1 of 2022, I do have the Q1 statistics for the region. I'm going to pop up a chart on the screen that shows you the change in median sale price in Buncombe County over the years. In Q1 of this year, the median sale price is right around $425,000 for the county. This is just over a 19% increase from Q1 of 2021. The average sale price, on the other hand, is just at $517,600. Which is just over a 13% increase compared to a year ago. I probably sound like a broken record at this point, continuing to repeat the fact that home prices are increasing, but I do think that it's important to note exactly how much they are increasing and what you might expect for the future. Let's move on to inventory on a national level. I only have one statistic to share with you for this category, and that is that in February, inventory of existing homes was down 15.5% compared to February of last year. There's not necessarily one particular reason why inventory is down so much this year, but it's probably due to a variety of reasons. Some of those being material costs still being elevated, sellers not necessarily wanting to sell because there's no place for them to move into, etc. let's move on to inventory on a local level. I'm going to put a chart up on the screen that shows you the change in inventory comparing Q1 of this year to Q1 of last year. And as you can see, it's a pretty similar story to what's happening on a national scale, except maybe even more so. So if we compare Q1 of this year to Q1 of last year, we can see the inventory is down almost 50%. Now I will say that Q1 does of course include winter months, and winter does tend to be the slowest season for real estate. So if we were to compare this quarter to, let's say, summer of last year, then we might see an even bigger difference in inventory. Let's move on to mortgages. Now this is definitely one of the biggest topics going on in the real estate world right now. I believe the last time I put out a housing market update video, interest rates were right around 4%. And believe it or not, right now they're just over 5%. I'll go ahead and put a chart up on the screen that shows you the change in interest rates over the past 6 months or so. And as you can see, especially in 2022, interest rates have been continuing to climb. If you recall, last year in one of my housing market update videos, I mentioned that some financial analysts were predicting that interest rates could maybe hit 4% by the end of 2022. Well, we have far surpassed that, being at around 5%. And the Fed is talking about raising rates a few more times this year. So it's really tough to say what exactly the future holds. And even if we take some of the best analysts out there and ask them their opinions, there are so many moving parts to this that it's really tough to actually predict what will actually happen. One of the biggest points that people mention to me is that if interest rates have gone up almost 2% compared to December of last year, then demand should be decreasing, right? It makes sense. Not as many home buyers can afford that interest rate. It will change their budget and their search criteria to the point where they might just not be interested anymore. And yes, that does make a lot of sense, and that would be what one might expect to see on the market. However, that's not exactly what's happening. Interestingly, we haven't seen much change in demand. And I think that a lot of this has to do with the fact that buyers might be feeling a sense of FOMO, or fear of missing out. So they see the interest rates are increasing, and they're trying to jump into the market now to avoid any potential future increases in interest rates. Now, this isn't to say that this amount of demand is going to be sustained throughout the year or into next year, but it's definitely affecting the market currently. In terms of my own opinion here, I do believe that in time, as interest rates start to creep up, we will see some buyer demand start to lessen. This is to be expected, especially if there are buyers out there who are kind of on the cusp of actually being able to afford a loan. If interest rates increase even more, they might not be able to afford the loan they're currently trying to get. One big note I want to mention here is that while yes, 5% is much higher than the 3% that we saw in December, and it does likely mean that your monthly payment has changed by a couple $100s if you had bought a home last year versus buying a home right now. While it may seem like a shock when we compare it to last year's rates, if we look back a few years ago, 5% really isn't so bad. So just keep that in mind when you're reading headlines about interest rates skyrocketing. Try to be less emotional about the topic and look at the bigger picture. Moving right on to local news. Now, I actually don't have any local news that I want to share with you guys, but I do quickly want to mention my Facebook group. I have a Facebook group called Living in Asheville that has been growing so much this year. I think in January I hit 250 members, and as of today it's almost at 1,600. So it's been growing very, very rapidly. I will leave a link to that group down in the description box below. It's a great place to learn about different events going on in the area, great restaurants, cool hiking trails, people asking different questions about how to get involved in the community or a specific doctor that they're looking for, etc. And also I will be hosting some more meetups through that group. So I think a month or two ago I did a walk around Beaver Lake, and then a couple weeks ago I had a meetup at Highland Brewing where we all just sat around, had a couple beers, and had a good time. So if you would like to join any of those meetups and meet me in person, I would absolutely love that. go ahead and click that link down below and join the group and definitely attend one of the future meetups. Well, I do have a couple more statistics to share with you, so let's jump back into the content. Let's end off the video with a few other statistics. You may recall that a couple years ago, demand for vacation homes increased quite drastically. I'll put up a chart here that shows you exactly what I'm talking about. And interestingly, over the past couple months, demand has dropped quite significantly, to the point where demand for primary residences is outpacing demand for vacation homes. Now remember, this is a national statistic, so things might be a little bit different around here in Asheville because we are a vacation destination. Fannie Mae recently conducted a survey and asked consumers if they think that right now is a good time or a bad time to buy. Not too surprisingly, only about 24% of consumers said that right now would be a good time to buy. However, there was another statistic in this survey that I found quite interesting. I'm going to put a chart up on the screen that shows you the results of another question in their survey. And the question was, if you were to move right now, would you choose to buy or rent? Surprisingly, 66% of respondents said they would choose to buy. So this is interesting because we have 24% of people saying it's a bad time to buy, but 66% of the people moving would actually choose to buy. So I'm curious, if you're considering moving to Asheville, would you rather buy or rent, and what would your reasoning be? Leave a comment below and let me know. Another statistic I want to share is about investment properties. Atom Data Solutions recently performed a study stating that just under 325,000 single-family homes were flipped in 2021. This is a 26% year-over-year increase and the highest amount since the housing bubble in 2006. However, this doesn't necessarily mean that it was more profitable. The typical gross profit margin on a flipped home has been dropping quite drastically. It was right around 42% in 2020, but has dropped all the way down to 31% in 2021. Something to note here is that that percentage doesn't necessarily reflect their profit. So that percentage really just reflects the difference from their purchase price to the actual sale price. There could be some huge expenses that they had to put into the home that were not actually reflected in the list or sale price. The final bit of information I want to share with you is regarding a NAR, or National Association of Realtors study that was recently performed that looks at the remodeling impact of various upgrades that you can do for your home, and also looks at what upgrades brought people the most joy. So I'll go ahead and read out the results of this survey because I thought they were really interesting and worth sharing, especially if you are considering listing your home this year and want some ideas as to what upgrades might give you the most bang for your buck. In terms of upgrades that made people the most happy, those were painting the exterior, painting an interior room, adding a home office, refinishing hardwood floors, adding new wood flooring, renovating a closet, upgrading the insulation, converting the attic, completely renovating the kitchen, and just upgrading the kitchen. In terms of upgrades that recouped the most cash, and do keep in mind that this study actually took into account today's elevated pricing. So I know you might be thinking, oh, if this survey looks at construction costs or rehab costs from 2019, then this really isn't going to be helpful. But this study actually did take into account today's elevated construction costs. And of course, the price will vary depending on where you're located across the country, quality of materials, age of the home, etc. So the top 10 upgrades are: number 1, refinishing the hardwood floors, which was around a 147% return. Adding new wood flooring, 118%. Insulation upgrade, 100% return. Finishing a basement, 86% return. Closet renovation, 83%. Attic conversion, 75%. Complete kitchen renovation, 75%. Bathroom renovation, 71%. Kitchen upgrade, 67%. And adding new bathrooms, 63%. So I hope that you found that quite interesting and helpful if you are a potential seller. Quickly before I end this video, I just want to say if you are a potential seller and would like a free comparative market analysis done on your property, please feel free to reach out to me anytime and I will be happy to provide that for you. I'll go ahead and leave my contact information at the end of this video as well as in the description box down below. Also, if you are a potential home buyer around the Asheville area and would like a copy of my free home buyer guide, please feel free to reach out to me as well, and I will be more than happy to email that over to you. Well, that is everything for today's video, guys. I really hope that you enjoyed this month's housing market update video. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel if you are not already, and join my Facebook group too. I would love to see you at some future meetups. Hit the like button if you enjoyed this video, share it with your family and friends, and I will see you very soon in the next one.